So what are you taking away from tonight? Well, you're going to meet the crime prevention team, which is myself, Kyle Palfy, and Lee Brockman. Had to think about it again. You're going to hear from the RCMP, and you're going to learn about security assessments and what the county is going to offer you with those security assessments. And like I said, we're going to have one-on-one presentations. We also have these boards up here that are very important. They're asking further questions for me to gauge what, as a community, you would like to see develop with this position. It's a brand new position in the county, and it's for the people, and it's about the people. So, next one, yeah. So this position as the Community Safety Coordinator was developed by Council in 2024. And it's located within the Regional Enforcement Services Department. And it supports the roles, county's priority for community wellness and safety. The role focuses on rural crime prevention, fostering partnerships with the community, with businesses, and with other enforcement agencies. Yeah, I already talked about me, so you don't need to hear anymore. I do come with 30 years of experience. I worked in federal institutions. I have been a lead investigator in this area for occupational health and safety for the last 12 years, and I have traveled all over Canada with the federal government on federal construction sites and dealing with political issues with Aboriginal lands. So I have a lot of experience. I retired for one day from the government and took this job. It was too boring sitting at home for one day, and I'm very excited about this position because it's something we need to develop, and it's a conduit. One of the things Stats Canada says is that 80% of the calls that come in aren't crime related. So how do we address those, and how do we address them and meet them and make sure that we feel safe in our community? And that's something I want to do with this position. So I'm going to now turn it over to Kyle Palfy. He is the new Superintendent of Regional Enforcements. So Kyle.
Thanks, Corinne. As you can see, my name's Kyle Palfy. I come from a 26-year career with the RCMP, actually 27 now. That was my old bio. I've been with Regional Enforcement Services Department since the beginning of November. I started at the same time that Lee Brockman, our general manager, did. So our department encompasses our patrol units, our parkland units, as well as our community standards units. They all have different focuses that they work on, but they all work collaboratively together with the other departments within the county. So you'll see our community standards people assisting the other agencies with bylaw-related issues. Our parkland guys will get out, and you'll probably see them in the green spaces up at Saskatoon Mountain, down in Evergreen and the Dunes area. The Parkland Patrol Unit was implemented a couple of years ago, specifically to deal with the amount of crime-related stuff that we were having in the dunes and then the wildfire type issues. So they're just out there making sure that people are using those spaces safely. Crime reduction is a passion of mine, as you can tell from my law enforcement background, and that community engagement has always been extremely important to me. So the opportunity to come work with the county and see all the great things that they're doing it's just been fantastic. Corinne started in the position, and she's quickly pulling more and more in. The more people she meets and the more other agencies that she works with, she's adding more and more stuff to her portfolio. So we're really happy to have her in our department. And she works alongside our members as well. So I'll introduce Lee next. He unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. Lee Brockman is the general manager for community services at the county. He comes from the RCMP as well. He was the former detachment commander in Grande Prairie, the OIC there. He has 20 years of experience, and he's bounced all around, well, mostly eastern and western Alberta in his career. And they came here as the OIC of Grande Prairie, and his family decided that this is where they want to be. So the opportunity presented himself. He was super excited to take on the role here at the county.
It's napping back there. No. So next I'd like to introduce a very important person in our community. And this is Matt Short. He is the RCMP Staff Sergeant for the Grande Prairie Rural. So Matt.
Thank you. Just quick about myself here. This is my 20th year with the RCMP. 15 of those years have been here up in Grande Prairie between city and rural. So we definitely have ties to this community and a pretty good understanding of the area. Also in the audience tonight is Inspector Mark McDougald. I'm not sure where he's hiding. He's hiding behind me. Way to go. Well done. That was brilliant, right? Stealthy. We like that. And we'll go from there. Together, we're part of the leadership team for the Grande Prairie Detachment. I specifically am focused on the rural side of the house. One of the things I always like to start my presentation off is just to give everybody a sense of the size of the area that we patrol. Our patrol area is south down to the Kakwa River on Highway 40, north to the county line with Saddle Hills, east past Crooked Creek to Range Road 252, and then west to Range Road 80, where we border with Beaverlodge. So we have a very large geographical area. It's a little over 14,000 square kilometers of territory all in there. Sexsmith, Clairmont, some of the communities that are part of that area, Grovedale, Byzantin, TP Creek, and DeBolt. To police that area, we have 26 provincial police positions as of today. 16 constables for general duty, responding to your day-to-day calls for service. If you call 911, you'll get one of those 16 members coming to your door to help you out. 3 road supervisors, those are my corporals. They are experienced police officers, provide a level of supervision and guidance to those members. 1 unit commander, thank you. 5 support members that are spread out throughout other departments within the detachment. That's our general investigation section, our special investigation unit, which specializes in domestic violence and sexual investigations, our crime reduction unit, and our drug unit. We have 1 PDS provincial member that works out of the Grande Prairie Detachment, providing services for us, along with some of the other neighboring detachments. FIS is another area that provides us a support. Real-time operations center, which is out of Edmonton. In those times where we have critical incidents and stuff like that, they have a senior NCO available to provide guidance to members on the road. And then we have in our district a containment team, which can help with some of those higher risk calls where we need to contain a property and wait for our special response teams to come up and deal with them. Also, to support us, we have a number of public servants and municipal employees providing services to us. They cover a number of different specialty lines, budget and finance, exhibits, video. We have shift assistant, which provides us with 24-hour support, looking up files and helping us while we're going to calls. Court services, so anytime we charge somebody, they are helping manage that file through the court process. Client services for our front counters, criminal records checks, data entry. A lot of people helping us in the background to do the work that we do. Go for it. All of that helps us with our crime trends. This year has been, well, 20% decrease overall when we're talking about criminal-related offenses. Persons crimes are down 27%. Property crime overall is down 14%. Other criminal code is down 31% for the year. That translates into 32 fewer reported break-and-enters, 5 fewer instances of motor vehicle theft from the year before, and 11 fewer reported thefts overall. It didn't kind of go over entirety there, but we had about 13,000 events over the last 2 years between the county and the MD of Greenview. So that's about 6,850 in 2023 and 6,186 last year. So we get a lot of calls for service and a lot of things that are taking our time. A lot of those calls are, and things that we deal with are a lot of traffic and provincial related offenses. We're dealing with some of those enforcement related things. Collisions is second on our list of things that we deal with. When we come to actual responses, when it comes to criminal code, we're getting close to the bottom of the list of the top 15 that we're dealing with from a criminal standpoint. So a lot of the things that we're dealing with are traffic related and not necessarily criminal code offenses. Kind of broke down there in the county, and I didn't expect that to happen. So just hang on, I'll get the number for you. We got 11,000 events, 11,620 events overall for the county of Grande Prairie. And on the next one, I think we had about 1,416 for the MD of Greenview. So when we talk about that, that just means most of our work that we're doing is for the county of Grande Prairie. That's where most of the population is. There's a large area in the MD, but it's sparsely populated, or it's oil field and other areas there. Well, just to take a better look at some of the crime trends that we're dealing with, break and enters kind of gives you a better breakdown over the last 2 years, from last year compared to this year, and how we ended up at that number. So again, overall, 34% decrease in our break and enters. The last quarter of 2023, we had 25. The last quarter of 2024, we had 13 that were reported. So we're trending in the right direction. We're hopeful that we can keep those numbers going next year and keep building off of that. Vehicle thefts, same idea. We were down 4% overall, according to this one. So we had 118 vehicle thefts reported last year, as opposed to 123 reported in 2023. Spousal abuse, domestic violence files. Again, we're going in a very good direction, 26% decrease from the year before. So 225 last year as opposed to 304 from 2023. Mental health is also an area that we're dealing with quite a lot as well. Again, we're trending in the right direction. 143 calls for service this year as opposed to 163 the year before. We do partner a lot with RPACT, who is now a regional area, provides us with an extra support with a constable and a mental health specialist, a nurse, to help us with some of those calls out in those rural communities. That's been a service more available in some of the more urban areas, so it's nice to see that's coming out into some of the more rural parts of the communities. Go ahead. Okay, our annual performance plan from last year. Every year when start of our fiscal year starts in April, we meet with communities. We want to get a sense of what their priorities are and what they would like us to focus on for the upcoming year, right? So last year, as we met with the County of Grande Prairie, the Municipal District of Greenview, the Town of Sexsmith, were some of the people we brought to the table to get an input on what they wanted to do. Town halls like this and Rural Crime Watch also help us identify what those priorities are going to be. From those, we broke it down into a couple of groups, community engagement and communication, focusing on school visits. We are averaging about 7 a month for our members. Our general duty members each get assigned a school. We encourage them strongly to get out, meet with those schools, build those relationships with the youth that are in those communities. We also look to get and deliver those presentations to those schools on whatever issue is front of mind for them at that point in time. Cultural training, we work on that in conjunction with the city so that the members can get a better understanding of the different cultural groups that we're policing. It's nice to show up, and if you have an understanding of the group that you're dealing with, it can help you better understand their point of view and work with them better to resolve whatever that issue is going to be. So from that, our target was to conduct 8 community-led cultural training sessions in conjunction with the city over the year. I think we've met that target with the help of our community engagement and diversity group there. So we're on progress to meet that goal. Crime reduction, that's why we're here. That's one of the things that we're interested in. So our focus when it comes to crime reduction is to target the prolific offenders. We always hear the same adage that it's, 2% of the population, 98% of the time. So we want to focus on those people. One of the ways we do that is with curfew checks. If you're a prolific offender, there's a good chance that you're on some sort of court-ordered condition that we can enforce or keep you accountable for that, so that hopefully we can keep you in your house. And if you're not, and you're reaching, then we can get you back in jail where we want you to be, right? Also, joint enforcement initiatives. It's been important for us over the last couple of years, especially, to work more closely with both county enforcement and enforcement services for the MD of Greenview. So we set the lofty goal when we did of 1 a month. If we could do 1 a month, we'd be doing great. We're doing about 7 a month with our partner agencies. The most recent one, we did a sled patrol with the county out in the Dunes area, and then we did another patrol out with the MD of Greenview out in the far reaches of the area there. So we're working with it. Enhanced service delivery is another one. Investigational integrity is something that we are always very aware of. When we talk about that, it's always coming back and talking to our complainants, right? I think one of the feedback that we got before we started this was we never hear from the police, right? We want to know what happened when we called. And if you're not going to tell me, I'm not going to call you. So we're going to call and make sure. So our compliance with that was a 70 to 75% compliance, and we are averaging about 76. So we're right on target for that. And that number will probably stay pretty close to that. The reason being is that we also generate a large number of files as well, so we can't call ourselves back and put that in there. So we're trying to track our actual complainants out of the numbers altogether. Community safety patrols, again, as part of crime reduction and enhanced service delivery, we want to be out in the community, right? So we want to spend as much time as we can out in the communities, either showing the flag, targeting prolific offenders, doing a number of different things. So we average about 16 patrols a day for Clairmont in this area, not necessarily this town site, but that encompasses the entire boundary of the area. Sexsmith, we're out there about 4 times a day. For patrols, Grovedale, same idea, 4 times a day. Down to Byzantin and DeBolt, where we're down 2 or 3 times a day. They're a little farther away. Sometimes they're harder to get to just for that visibility standpoint. The transition. Okay, Grande Prairie City is transitioning to a municipal police force. I think everybody hopefully is aware of that. The question I get on the rural side of the house the most is, what's that do for us? The answer to that question is there's no change in the rural service delivery as a result of the Grande Prairie's transition to a municipal police force. The rural resources that we talked about before, those are already provincial resources. They're not being taken away or reduced or anything like that. They will be staying where they are to provide that service for the community, right? The other question is, will there be a new detachment for the Grande Prairie rural folks? The answer is yes, there will be at some point. That's going to be a long process to get to. So it's going to take us a while to get there. So in the meantime, what are the next one? We're moving. We're leaving the Grande Prairie detachment. Downtown is the main detachment. From a provincial side of the house, our expectation is that we'll be moving to our new location on 10605 West Side Drive, which is also occupied by other units of our district office. So we're going to take some space up in there. It's going to be a full service. Like if you have to report anything from the public, you will go to that office if you're a rural resident, right? Those are your criminal record checks, collisions, those types of things. There is a handout, I don't know where it went. I'll give you a little bit more information over on the side. Our expected date right now to make that move is February 24th is our first day of operation in that new facility. You'll see over the next month from the RCMP more communication and more information about that move and phone numbers if you want to report a crime in the rural area. There will be some changes in that as well. And that's all I have. Chris Power is the commander covering the Beaverlodge detachment, and his prior job was in crime reduction for the district. So I'm gonna hand it off.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Good evening, everybody. As Matt said, my name is Chris Power. I am currently serving as the commander of the Beaverlodge detachment as a acting commander. The individual that's there, Staff Sergeant Chris Kyle, is on leave for a few months, so I'm filling in. I did deliver a presentation last week at the forum in Beaverlodge, and I spoke a little bit wearing the Beaverlodge commander hat, but I also spoke wearing the hat of the commander of the Western Alberta District Rural Crime Reduction Unit. So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about tonight. And it's great because I've been in rural crime reduction for a number of years, since 2018. Prior to that, I worked in crime reduction at the Grande Prairie Detachment from 2016. And when you work in the crime reduction units in the RCMP, you don't really have the opportunity to get out and engage with members of the public. We're often in the shadows, we're wearing normal clothes, blue jeans, hoodies, driving vehicles that you would never know are police vehicles. And we don't have many opportunities to engage with folks that we serve. So it's great to have this opportunity tonight. I look forward to speaking one-on-one with some of you afterwards. But what I'm going to do a little bit before we do that is talk about what the Rural Crime Reduction Unit does in your community. Because one of the things that is a challenge when you're trying to do covert work and hide from the criminals is you're hiding from the community as well. And when you folks are calling the police, calling the detachment, you know, saying, look, we've got these folks, we know they're causing issues, they're stealing vehicles. How come the police aren't doing anything about it? We often are. You just don't see us out there because the methods that we have to use to conduct our investigation are covert. So what we do, these units were created in 2018. The provincial government and the RCMP decided that rural crime was a priority, and funding was put in place for each of the 4 districts in the province to set up a rural crime reduction unit. So what we do is we do targeted enforcement of the prolific offenders. So Matt spoke a little bit about the detachment's crime reduction efforts. We do that on the entire Western District scale. So the Western Alberta District is based out of Grande Prairie, our headquarters, but we serve 24 detachments from high level down to Jasper, all the way across to Drayton Valley. And we do targeted enforcements on prolific offenders who cause the most harm in your community. So we use intelligence that is gained from the police officers on the street, from intelligence analysts who are mining through data and identifying crime trends and potential suspects. We use all kinds of different information like that to generate targets of these individuals who are causing the most issues within the communities that we serve. So when you read in the news or listen to the radio and hear the same names over and over and over, those are the people that we're primarily going after and putting in jail. And yes, it does kind of turn into a cycle over and over, but we don't stop. We continue to go after these individuals. One of the benefits of our unit is we work throughout all the detachments. So although the RCMP is the police of jurisdiction in most of Northwest Alberta, with the exception of, well, we still are in Grande Prairie, but it will transition. We have detachment boundaries. So that doesn't mean that when a criminal goes from Grande Prairie into Valley View that we stop chasing them or working them, but it's easier when your unit can work in each detachment area seamlessly. We've had shifts where we start in Grande Prairie and have ended up in high level unexpectedly. You know, don't even have a bag pack. So wherever the criminals go, we will follow them. So we do a lot of stuff. That's okay. We do a lot of stuff that involves surveillance, involves getting search warrants, different authorizations from judges to disrupt this activity. So some examples of that, if you flip to the next slide. I'll go through a few examples. I have a whole bunch of slides. I'm not going to go through all of them. I could tell stories all night long about this stuff, but there's other presenters. But we do what a lot of detachments are encountering in the field with some of these prolific offenders is that they're very high risk. So it's not uncommon now for offenders when they see a police car and the red and blue lights come on, they just take off. You know, they know that we always have to balance public safety with our efforts to apprehend folks. And, you know, we're not going to chase somebody for a property crime offense and endanger everybody else who's a user of the roadway. So we take these high-risk offenders and we come up with techniques that we can use where we can safely apprehend them. And a lot of the tools that we use are tracking them, whether it's through GPS that's covertly installed in their vehicle, or tracking them through their cell phone, or just simply doing surveillance. These are the things that we do so that we can safely apprehend them. We work with a lot of other specialized units. So in the RCMP, we have the emergency response team. We work with them probably 6 to 12 times a year. We work extensively with police dog services. We use air services, so helicopter and airplane support. We use a section that installs special technology that we can utilize, all kinds of different support units within the organization that we partner with regularly. So if you want to go to the next slide, you can go through, flip right to this one. So I'm going to just tell you, when I get up here and describe some of these techniques, it doesn't really mean a lot to you, but I'll just give you a couple of quick examples of files here, and you'll see kind of what we do. So this just happened this past year. Between the 6th of February and the 12th of May in the Peace River area, we had an individual that generated 50 calls to the police. And these aren't just calls like this guy's drunk and he's being a nuisance at my house. These are firearms, flight from police, pointing guns at people, endangering the lives of people that he encountered while committing his crimes and the police officers that respond to them. So we identified him as a target through our analytical data that our analyst collects, as well as talking to the detachment. And we said, okay, this guy's got to be taken off the street. So how are we going to do that, given the risk and the danger that he's posed already to our members in the community? So we liaise with some of those folks I talked about, and we come up with a plan. So if you flip to the next slide. So what we do is we get a tracking warrant on this individual's cell phone. So we, using our connections in the community, find out who this person's or what their cell phone number is. We go to a judge. We say, they've done all this stuff. This is a risk they pose to the community. We want you to authorize us to track their cell phone. And of course, the judge agrees. So what we did in this case, we actually brought in our emergency response team. We brought in a special aircraft from Ontario. This is an aircraft that's equipped with the RCMP's top of the line technology in all of Canada. So it's rare that it gets deployed to Alberta, but in the case of this, it was available, and we had support from our district management, given the danger of this offender, to bring this piece of equipment out. So we get out there, get on the ground, we start tracking this guy. We get into a bit of a pursuit with him. He gets into a residence, doesn't comply. Our emergency response team deploys some gas in there that makes it very unpleasant, and eventually he's taken into custody. Here's another one. So this was the MD of Smoky River. This one happened year before last. Dawson Creek RCMP had a string of break-ins, and we saw an increase in the Spirit River area as well around the same time. And through talking back and forth to Dawson Creek, we believe that we were dealing with the same suspects. So while this investigation is ongoing, one night a police car in Dawson Creek gets rammed by the suspects. They found them in the commission of an offense. They made an attempt to apprehend them. They smash the police car and take off. There's another B&E break and enter that occurs, and one of the trucks that they stole had a GPS. So that GPS showed that vehicle was going towards the Falher area. So we knew right away, there's a guy up there that we are pretty confident that this is going to end up at his house, and we were correct. So we get this to the Falher area and find the stolen truck. It flees on us. We had a helicopter supporting us, and we end up, the guy bails out of the truck, the helicopter's overhead. We end up catching him with a bit of a foot chase. We had a second vehicle that shows up with the associates of the suspect. That vehicle flees. We get into a huge chase through farm fields, and a bunch of farmers are involved, and end up successfully apprehending that individual as well. And if you flip to the next slide, from that investigation, that vehicle, we find evidence that links us to another property. We write a search warrant. We go there, recover a bunch of stolen property that's linked to the Dawson Creek break-ins. So this is kind of the complexity that goes into investigating and apprehending these types of offenders. I often say, in policing, there's what you know and what you can prove. So When a lot of you folks in your community call the police and speak to the constables that work with Grande Prairie Rural, and you say, look, we have this house, we know what they're up to. We as police often know too, you know, we know what they're doing, but the threshold that we have to meet to get a judicial authorization or a search warrant, you know, to enter a property or get a warrant to track one of these individuals is quite high. And, you know, that's due to the Charter of Rights, and you don't want the police just to be able to walk into anybody's house. So there's good reason that those systems are in place, but from a policing perspective, it's very, very resource intensive. And you can see from files like this went on for a period of about a week from the time we first got involved until we actually apprehended these individuals. And I think the next slide shows you how this one ended. So this is after the pursuit, and it took that level of effort. Like, they continue to go and go and go until you physically park a truck on the hood of their car, as this picture illustrates. So you can just skip through this one. I don't want to talk all night telling these stories. If you can just go back to this is a good one here. So Falare area again. We have a resident that has a break-in at, there's 3 cabins in Watino, if everybody knows where that area is, down by the Little Smoky River. So this one was a guy that somebody gave him my number. It was a contact I made in the community, and I handed a business card to, and I get this random call on the Saturday morning, and it's one of the victims from this break-in, and he says, hey, I hear you run some type of rural crime unit. We just had this series of break-ins. I'm wondering if you can help me out. So he sends us some surveillance. Initially, we don't know exactly who this is, but we do a little bit of digging, and we identify somebody from the Red Deer area who is a prolific offender that we've never even heard of up in this neck of the woods. So we do a little bit of deeper digging, and our crime analyst finds, through some past crimes that this person has committed down in that area, some associates who now live in Fairview. So we bring the team up to a residence. It was up in Hines Creek, where we believe these associates would be. And within 30 minutes, guess who shows up in a stolen truck? The girl from the surveillance from the 3 break-and enters. So we follow this individual for about 30 minutes out into Clear Hills. We believe that she was going to commit another break and enter, and then we successfully executed a takedown. She tried to flee from us, but we were able to prevent that. And if you flip to the next one, when we got her, she still had the clothing that she wore in those initial break-ins on the surveillance. The vehicle she was in at that time, we tied into crimes that occurred in Whitecourt all the way to Red Deer. We did an interview where she confessed. We got another search warrant to search a residence in Hines Creek for the property that was stolen, recovered a little bit of it. And she entered a guilty plea and was sentenced to a year in custody. So what these files, the reason I'm sharing these with you is so that you see not only the amount of work that goes into it, but that you understand that there are police officers out there other than the police officers you see driving the police cars wearing the uniforms that are targeting these individuals. It's an ongoing battle, but we continue to take the information that comes from the detachments we serve and the crime analysts and identify the targets that we're able to go after. I could right now take a list of targets that we have and fill the rest of the calendar year with them. Like that's the level of demand there is for our service. We also do a lot of quick hit unexpected stuff. So there could be a time where we're in the Grande Prairie area, Grande Prairie Rural, Constable Turnbull in the back there, comes into a situation where he finds a stolen vehicle, and he knows the outcome is likely going to be that person will flee if he attempts to stop them, but he knows that we're in the area. He'll call us, we'll deploy a covert team, we'll follow that person all day long, and they'll go to a gas station to get out and get a bottle of Coke, and we'll just pounce on them as they go in the door. So we do a lot of responsive stuff as well. It's not all this big project-based stuff. One of the big things that we deal with in this neck of the woods is theft from industry. So I'm sure there's some folks here that work in the oil and gas industry. You guys probably know through your employers the level of theft that's occurring. It's very frustrating. It's very challenging for us as police officers because oil and gas sites are very remote. Traditional surveillance where we follow people in vehicles is near impossible in these areas just because the roads are so quiet. And a lot of these thefts occur in the middle of the night. So it's even more challenging because they see headlights and they know they're being followed. So we'll skip this one and I'll just do one more here. Skip that one too. So those pictures we'll do this one here. The picture you can just go back to that picture, please. This is a garage that we searched from an oil and gas copper thief. And you can see, you roll up the garage door, and that's not the whole garage, that's just like one corner of it. This is a level of, I don't want to use the term sophistication, but I've got slides here too that show pictures of like stripping equipment that they've got rigged up for this. We have people that are actively stealing thousands of dollars a day from the oil field. So the next slide here, this happened in this area. This was a few years old, but I like to kind of touch on this one. So the province has mandated legislation from 2020 that scrap metal dealers and recyclers, so the places that you bring old batteries or copper or anything like that, have to report into a database all of their transactions. So who's bringing the stuff in, what vehicle they're driving, and what exactly it is that they're bringing in. So these go into a database, and then our crime analyst accesses that database each week. So there's these two fellas from Grande Prairie area that were well known to us through other thefts in years prior, and their name starts popping up on this list in December of 2021. So between the 7th of December and the 16th of March, the two of them have cashed in $26,000 worth of copper and batteries. And we know these individuals have no employment. We know that they're addicted to drugs. So right away, we say, okay, these guys are an issue that we have to deal with. So we did some analytical work on them, learned a little bit about their lives and lifestyles. We figure out when a good time to watch these guys would be. And then we put two surveillance teams on each of them, or sorry, one on each of them. So we got lucky with this one. Sometimes you do surveillance for weeks and you don't really get any of the results you're looking for. In this case, both of them left their residence the first night we watched them at the exact same time, and they met up just west of the airport and traveled together up by La Glace, up into the oil field area in the Saddle Hills. So we followed them for a couple of nights. We realized we are not gonna be able to be successful here because this is so remote. So we bring in a specialized surveillance plane from Ontario. So one of the benefits, of course, with the RCMP as a national police service is we do have access to all kinds of different assets and resources and specialized teams and units from across the country. So in this case, we bring in this surveillance aircraft from Ontario. We set up a surveillance operation. The plane comes up for a couple of nights. We watch them from the sky, and this thing flies so high they don't even know it's there. We watch them hit 3 oil and gas sites just north of La Glace, and we're able to successfully get them on the way out with a little bit of a attempted pursuit that didn't go well for them. Laid a bunch of criminal code charges, and we actually this is the first time we laid any charges, or any police service laid charges under the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act, which was created back in 2020. So that one was good. This is not related to that particular one, but in the case of that one of those individuals got a year in jail for those oil field thefts. And the other one, who had a little bit less of a criminal record, was on house arrest and a pile of conditions, which we liaised with the Grande Prairie Detachment to ensure that they were strictly enforced. And our analysts continue to monitor the individual. And in his case, he actually has been out of crime since that arrest. So the other thing is you might hear, okay, this guy did $26,000 worth of theft over that period. So how many oil field sites did he break into? Probably dozens. And we caught him after watching him hit 3, and he only gets 1 year in jail, right? So the unfortunate reality of it is the sentence, the conviction was just for those 3 sites. We have nothing to prove in the months prior where the $26,000 worth of stuff was cashed in. We can't prove that any of that was stolen. It's good supporting evidence to the charges that we were able to lay. And of course, the judge would probably take that into consideration. But again, it goes back to the what you know and the what you can prove. So, yeah, so I am happy to speak to any of you folks afterwards. Like I said, we never get the opportunity to engage with the citizens that we serve to the degree that Detachment does. Happy to answer any questions you have, hear any concerns you have, and thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was an amazing presentation. And Matt, I think we all appreciate hearing that. So the next presentation, I'm going to ask my partner in crime, Chad Cronk, to come up and present with me. So I'm going to talk about property security safety assessments. So this is something new with this position that the county is offering. I am offering in my position, and it's free to the ratepayers, to the citizens and the businesses of the county. Go ahead. So what is a property security assessment? So we will come out and look at your property. It's upon your request through the website. We have a request tab set up. We will look at your property and assess it for security risks and safety risks. And we'll have a discussion with you about what you're looking for and what you are hoping to get out of it. And then I'll provide you with a report of what my findings are when I'm completed the assessment. One of the purposes of this is to help you address some of the safety issues with your property, with people breaking into it or accessing it. I'm going to use my brother-in-law. He leaves his shop open all the time because his neighbor down the road may need a tool, right? But he's got $1 million worth of tools sitting in there, right? And that just can't happen. Not nowadays. So next slide. So I'll introduce myself again, Corrine, and then this is Chad Cronk. He is with the RCMP. He does the same thing as I do. He's my counterpart. And he also offers, we call them SEPTEDs. And he offers them through the RCMP when there's high rates. And he'll explain that in a little bit in the next slide. So I'm just going to hand it over to Chad now.
Okay. So my name is Chad Cronk. I'm the crime prevention liaison for the Western Alberta District. I work for a division called the Community Safety and Wellbeing Unit with the RCMP. And basically each district has one of us within their units. My area, much like Chris's, covers 27 different detachments, and I'm providing support to those detachments from a crime prevention standpoint. And we use what is called SEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. And basically what that is taking a look at the built environment or your surroundings and how can you better secure it? What tactics can you use to make it harder or more difficult for criminals to attack your property or a property? It focuses on reducing crime and fear in your area. Again, we talk in a lot of the rural areas. I was just talking to somebody on the phone today where his 80-year-old grandfather or father has been broken into twice, both times when the father went to town. He lives in Nampa and he went to town in Peace River. And both times his property was targeted. They stole guns, personal property, ATVs from his property. And one of the tactics that they used was teaching his father to lock his door. It's very common in rural areas that people still have that old neighborly mentality, even like Corrine was saying, where people are not locking their doors at night. And simple tactics like that are all about adding different layers and making it more difficult and keeping, the longer a criminal is on a property, the less likely he is to be able to want to attempt to break in. So all of the different layers that you have to prevent people from getting on your property or from accessing different areas of your property is what SEPTED is all about. So SEPTED focuses on 4 different core principles. The first one is access control, and simply put, doors, windows, locks, those types of things. So what shape are your doors in? Are they easily accessible? Do you have deadbolts? Are the deadbolts installed properly? If you have windows, do you have old windows? Do they lock? What are the locking mechanisms like? If you have sheds, what do the locks look like on those sheds? And I know I'm not allowed to name drop in terms of brand names and stuff, but there is nothing master about a master lock. So there are a lot of other products out on the market that are more difficult, especially when you look at the tools that criminals have, like portable grinders and those types of things. So again, making it more difficult by putting lock guards on, using heavy duty locks or those kinds of things will make it, or it will make it more difficult for people to get into the property, but it'll keep them on the property for a longer period of time. And that's not what criminals want. They want to be in and out of a property very quick. The next is territorial reinforcement. So territorial reinforcement is a lot like fencing and creating a space between, or knowledge of what is public and private property. So in a rural area, how do you have your access roads? Do you have signage put up? Do you have fencing? What other things tell people that your private or your property is private? And what would make people think if they saw somebody in that area that they're doing or up to no good? So it's important to make sure that property is marked or those kinds of things. Next is natural surveillance or surveillance of any kind. So you're talking about clear sight lines within a property. What's the vegetation around your property? Again, what is it like for cameras or those types of things, lighting, all of those kinds of things make it important for people to be able to see what's happening on your property. The old adage, tall fences make good neighbors. They also make a very good spot for criminals to perform different activities that you don't want them to. So again, you have to kind of weigh that privacy issue or privacy concerns with what you want people to be able to see on your property. And then finally, the most important is probably the maintenance aspect of things. When you're looking at maintenance, I've been dealing with different properties where they said, oh yeah, you can open that door with a jackknife. Oh yeah, you could. We knew that there was a problem with the lighting there. We just haven't done anything about it. We knew that those trees needed to be trimmed, but we just never got around to it. So those simple maintenance things are probably the least expensive thing that you can do in order to protect your property and make sure that those layers around the property are there.
Thanks. So how do you request a property security and safety assessment? So we have a website. We also have a QR code there. We have sheets on the table over there you can take home, and then you can just scan it on your phone, and it'll take you right to the link to request it. Once that's requested, it will come to myself and Kyle, and we will be in touch with you to get that organized and talk about what you're looking for. So there's some rural crime reporting programs out there, so I'm going to let Chad talk on these ones.
Okay, so the big thing that we talk about, the RCMP are a statistics-based organization. They don't know about crime if it's not reported to them. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, we were actually just talking about this, they do not track Facebook or other social medias for what's going on. So a lot of communities will have Facebook pages or those types of things where they talk about crime that's happening within their communities. But without those being reported to the RCMP really don't know that those things are happening. So, and I want to reassure everybody, the RCMP will take every phone call you make to them with regards to a crime. There are different ways of reporting, and the RCMP has done different things in terms of making reporting a little bit easier for people in case you don't want to bother the detachment or those kinds of things. So always there's the emergency-based, if a crime is happening right now, 911. That's an emergency-based call. You have the non-emergency line for the Grande Prairie Rural Detachment, 830-5700. That may change once the detachment changes, as well as there's the phone number for the Beaverlodge Detachment. You also have online reporting, and a lot of people are unaware of this, but you can report just about anything online within certain conditions. And again, if you have video surveillance or those kinds of things, the preference is that it gets reported to the detachment. But online reporting could be everything from suspicious vehicles to I had my bike stolen or those kinds of things. Those get reported to members actually in Edmonton, so they are real members. And those members will respond back. The important thing is those statistics actually get put back into crime mapping for the detachment and kind of add to a lot of the stats that Staff Sergeant Short was talking about. And then we also have the Crime Stoppers phone number. If you want to report a crime anonymously or that type of thing, there's that aspect as well. Next. So one of the other things that's around that a lot of people don't know about, some people do, and I love this app because it's got just about all of the things I've talked about on one location. So it's the Alberta RCMP online mobile app, and I do have some pamphlets over there that you can scan to get the app as well. But there's a wide variety of different aspects to this app, everything from crime mapping to online reporting, to the RAVE program, which the RCMP used for callouts in terms of bolos or traffic incidences or those kinds of things. It also gives all of the news that is reported by the RCMP. So every news release that the RCMP puts out actually also goes on the bottom of that as a news feed. It's a very good app. It does not track your whereabouts. So Chris, Sergeant Power won't be able to tell where you are. And most of it is just there for informational purposes for you.
So crime-related reporting for the County of Grande Prairie is the County Regional Enforcement Services. The numbers there, the email, and the links. So we also have information over there with the sheet with all of this information on it for you to take home. And I think it's very important that you have those numbers at home, right? Okay.
So just a couple other programs that the RCMP offer are starting to ramp up on. One is called RAVE. This is an Alberta-wide program. It used to be used by the RCMP for member overtime callouts and those kinds of things, but they've actually made it public accessible. It is a self-registration, so you have to go on and register for yourself, but you can actually get the RAVE callouts for your specific area or other areas of the whole province. So specifically, I have it set up for the entire province, so I can see what the different callouts are for those different areas and that type of thing. And again, from that perspective, it's just a way of kind of specifically for rural areas to be able to get information out to the public as quickly as they can. The final one, I think, is Capture. And again, it's a self-registration program. I have some pamphlets over there on it as well. And what this is designed to do is to assist members when an incident occurs in a specific area. So when an incident occurs or a break and enter or that type of thing, generally part of the investigational process for the members is to go around to each property and see who may have surveillance cameras and see whether or not those individuals are willing to turn over the camera footage to the member. Again, you don't have to from any standpoint. What this database does is makes it easier for the members to get information in a specific area of who has cameras. So it'll actually shorten them from having to go from house to house to house to go, oh, there are 3 houses on this block that have cameras. I'm gonna go see if they have footage or if they want to supply us with footage. Again, does not give the RCMP any access to your cameras, nor do you have to turn over any of the footage from your cameras. It just makes the investigational aspect for the members a lot easier.
So another program is SCAN, and that is ran through the sheriffs. And it, again, is working with the communities and your neighbors. So it's a good program to look at and maybe sign up for. I just want to mention that this month, the RCMP's initiative is Operation Cold Start. So you may see in our, if your vehicle's out running at Walmart or wherever, you may see an RCMP officer walking around it. They may leave a pamphlet on your windshield. It's just an initiative to remind you that maybe this isn't a good idea to leave them running. Certain things maybe shouldn't be left in them. So look up the program. It's on the RCMP website and make yourself aware of it if you do see them wandering around.
I just wanted to make one comment with regards to auto theft as well. Auto theft in our district is rampant. A lot of it is the complacency of individuals leaving vehicles running, leaving vehicles open, or having a lot of property within their vehicles. And that kind of goes without saying with regards to a lot of the work vehicles. I want to reassure everybody that the vehicle theft that is happening up here has basically 2 purposes, and none of them have to do with somebody stealing your F-150 and shipping it to Saudi Arabia to make money. The 2 main causes or the 2 main reasons for a lot of the auto theft that occurs up here is one for transportation. I'm in Clairmont and I want to get to Sexsmith, or I want to get to Manning, or I want to get to Peace River. So I've got an easy out. There's a vehicle running right here and I'm going to take it and I'm going to dump it in that area. The second one, and you may have kind of garnered this from Sergeant Power's information, that almost every vehicle that is apprehended, or a great majority of vehicles apprehended in property crime in rural areas, is a stolen vehicle. So they're going out and stealing vehicles that are not theirs. So they don't care whether or not they're taking it through a farmer's field when they're being chased by the police. They don't care what damages they're doing to that vehicle or those kinds of things. So if we can reduce the amount of auto theft or assist in reducing or making it more difficult for auto theft, it'll be a lot better, or it should help impact the property crime statistics in the rural areas.
So I just want to thank all the speakers tonight. There were some amazing presentations. I really want to